Hey guys, welcome to the first video reviewing the first 10 Looney Tunes cartoon episodes available right now on HBO Max. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking the video as it helps the channel out. To give a brief background on the shorts, in 2018, Warner Bros. Announced a new series of Looney Tunes shorts that would be 1,000 minutes across shorts of varying size. It would feature their marquee characters, voiced by the current voice actors in simple gag-driven shorts. We would first see what's to come on the Warner Bros. Animation logo, which debuted before the Teen Titans Go movie. The first 10 shorts were previewed in 2019 at the Annecy International Animated Film Festival and were met with very positive reactions. It would be almost another year before we saw some previews on YouTube, and then finally on May 27th, 2020, they were released on the HBO Max streaming service. In this review, I'm going to go through each of the cartoons released in the first batch, both long and short. I'll be giving some quick thoughts on each short, and I will be doing a summary at the end of what I felt worked and what I felt didn't work. So without further ado, let's get on to it. First up, we have Curse of the Monkey Bird. In this short, Daffy Duck and Porky Pig search for a cursed treasure inside a jungle temple. For me, this is one of the funniest shorts released in this lineup, and it's definitely a great start for the series. It's very reminiscent of 40s Porky and Daffy team-ups. It's really violent, pushes gags to its absolute limit, and the ending gag is perfect. I have no complaints here. Next, we have the first of a few one-joke scenes with Marvin the Martian. It was simple, funny, and gave me a chuckle. Next, we have Arm Wrestling. In this one, it takes place in a western town where Yosemite Sam challenges Bugs to an arm wrestling match. This one is hands down my favourite from this batch of episodes. In fact, it's probably my favourite modern day Looney Tunes cartoon. Each gag was perfect and I was in stitches the entire time. Moving on to Big League Beast. Bugs tries to watch baseball at home, but ends up having to do so at an evil scientist's lair. The scientist then unleashes Gossamer to get rid of Bugs. To be honest, this one felt more weaker than the others previous to this, but it still gave me a chuckle or two, and you can certainly do worse than this. Mini Elmer is next, which is another simple gag, the first in a series of Elmer vs. Bugs, and it's a very funny gag. In Firehouse Frenzy, Daffy and Porky are firefighters and have to respond to a call. This is another strong Daffy and Porky outing with an insane fire pole scene. I've seen the end gag before, but it's still pretty good here. In Boo Appetweet, Sylvester wins. Or at least he thinks he did when he actually ate a cupcake instead of Tweety, who is now covered in flour, and Sylvester thinks that Tweety is a ghost. Now, confession time. While I do like the original Sylvester and Tweety shorts, they were never amongst my favourite, so it's no real surprise that while I like this short for doing something different, I really wasn't laughing as much here, but that's just a personal preference, of course. Plunger is yet another Elmer vs. Bugs gag, and it's another good one. Bubble Dum is a solo Daffy short which pits Daffy against Street Gum that just won't go away. It's a simple short that is funny at first, but I felt it does go a little bit too far towards the end. It's a weaker Daffy effort in my opinion. In fact, in these particular shorts, I feel Daffy works much better when he's against other characters. Pain in the Ice is another Tweety and Sylvester short that pits Sylvester against Tweety, who is ice skating. Not too bad, enjoyable, but again, it's probably one of the weaker shorts for me. Tunnel Vision is one of the first Roadrunner cartoons, and they all focus on a particular gag or method that the coyote tries to use. Here involves the coyote painting a tunnel which goes in a different direction than the classics. It was a little jarring to see the designs here, but I'll get to that at the end of the video. It's a solid gag here though. Pool Bunny is next. Here Bugs makes himself at home at Elmer's swimming pool on a really hot day. This one is solid with some very funny gags. It's probably middle of the road for me in this collection of shorts. Up next is Pest Coaster. Bugs tries to go on a coaster ride, but Yosemite Sam's crazy ride rules do not allow rabbits. This one I took a look at before and I definitely enjoy it, but compared to some of the others I've watched since, I'd put this one probably around the middle, much like Pool Bunny. In Rhino You Don't, Sylvester's once again after Tweety, but this time it's at the zoo. This one is probably my favourite of the 3 Sylvester and Tweety shorts of this batch, but again, it didn't make me laugh as much as some of the other shorts. In Buzzard School, Bugs teaches Beaky Buzzard how to hunt rabbits. Now, is it blasphemy to say I enjoyed this Beaky Buzzard short much more than the originals, at least in terms of gags? I mean, granted the animation was more solid in the originals, but I laughed more at this one than I did with those. I mean, go figure. Now we can cue the Anthony's animation talk is not a real Looney Tunes fan videos. We next get another Marvin the Martian gag that's also amusing just like the others. Wet Cement is a simple gag-driven cartoon where Daffy is causing trouble for Porky making a cement footpath. I looked at this one before and it's a neat idea and it's quite a solid little short. I also love the Tex Avery cameo. Up next is Siberian Sam. This one simply has Sam in the need of a new hat, so he goes after Bugs for his pelt. I like how this is a throwback to how Sam would be placed in all sorts of different situations, like a pirate or a Confederate soldier, and here he is a Siberian. Funny cartoon, though not quite as good as Harm Wrestling in my opinion. Moving Hole is another Elmer and Bugs gag, which gets a thumbs up from me. Fleece and Desist. Sam Sheepdog protects his herd from Ralph Wolf, pretty much the same like the originals. And this one was a surprise to see, as I quite like those originals made by Chuck Jones. For some reason they don't seem to be as popular. Solid cartoon and the gags made me laugh, and it's one of my personal favourites of this bunch. We then get the third and final Marvin flag gag short, and this one is probably my favourite of the 3. Grilled Rabbit involves Elmer interrogating Bugs over theft of carrots. I like how this one is something different to what you usually see in the Elmer and Bugs shorts, and that's a good thing. It's really funny, it's a solid short with a twist at the end that had me in stitches. Cactus If You Can is another Roadrunner short around one simple gag, a super strong vacuum that doesn't quite work as intended. Definitely my favourite Roadrunner in this bunch, and it builds each gag one after another and it's so fun to watch. Shower Shuffle features Daffy and Porky trying to have a shower at their respective apartments. Definitely one of the highlights of this batch by far. It's a creative idea and so much fun to watch. More like this one, please. Overdue Duck. Porky is trying to keep Daffy quiet at a library to not disturb a very large man from reading his poetry in peace. This one is very similar to the Chuck Jones short A Pest in the House, which is a good thing because I love that short and I love this one. A solid entry and it's one of the best. Bees is the last Elmer and Bugs mini short, and there are no complaints here. In fact, all of these mini shorts involving Elmer and Bugs are very solid. Vincent Van Fudd is next, and this one had Elmer try to be a great artist, but due to him disrupting the light in Bugs' home, Bugs disrupts his efforts to be a great artist. It's another solid short that is similar to Elmer's Candid Camera, where there he was trying to photograph wildlife, here he's just trying to paint. Good stuff, it's one of the better ones. Hair Restoration is another Elmer and Bugs short involving Bugs trying to help Elmer grow his hair for a date. The only time I can recall something that drew attention to Elmer's bald head was in Rabbit of Seville, so this was a great idea for a short. Yet another great effort that had a funny twist ending. TNT Trouble is the last Roadrunner short of the batch involving the coyote using, what else? TNT. A funny little quickie short. And lastly, we have Plumber's Quack, which involves Daffy trying to fix a leaky tap for Elmer. The only cartoon featuring the two paired together in this batch, it's a solid effort to end this current run. So that's 30 shorts of varying sizes within 10 episodes. So what's my verdict on the series so far? Keep in mind that humour is subjective, so what I may find funny and not funny may be the total opposite of what you might find funny and not funny. Now this is by far one of the best modern renditions of Looney Tunes. While Tiny Toons remains my personal favourite, this one so far is a very close second. As with any series comprised of different characters in different settings in different shorts, we're going to get some shorts being better than others, though thankfully none of the shorts were what I would consider to be unfunny or just downright bad. Easily the best shorts for me were the Porky and Daffy ones, with the Bugs and Elmer shorts as runners-up. In fact, I wouldn't object to a show only doing Porky and Daffy this way, it just works so well. The weakest ones by far for me were the Sylvester and Tweety ones. But, as mentioned earlier, the regional shorts were never my personal favourites. And again, these actually aren't that bad, it's just that I didn't connect with them as much as I did with some of the others. So what about the animation, I hear you ask? Well, it's different from what I'm used to with the original shorts, even the wildest of the Bob Clampett ones, and that's fine. While they obviously took a lot of inspiration from the early 40s shorts, they still did their own thing, with some shorts looking right out of a Ren and Stimpy cartoon. And honestly, I think the animation is absolutely fantastic, and it shows what you can do with digital animation. That's not to say I thought every single bit of animation was absolutely perfect, but it was solid enough for me to overlook any flaws or gags that didn't quite work for me animation-wise. Another touch I liked was the use of the title cards and just how awesome that they all look. Though it was really weird that some of the really short shorts had title cards and some of the others didn't, but it's not a big deal, but these title cards are awesome. Now, when I first watched these shorts, I was rather surprised at the amount of violence that some of the episodes have. Now, I love violent and crazy cartoons, but I don't remember the Looney Tunes being this violent, even in the wilder Bob Clampett and Tex Avery stuff. So I guess if you were hoping that this would be more like a direct continuation of the originals, you might be a bit disappointed. If you're more of a Chuck Jones style Looney Tunes fan, it's possible you might feel a bit turned off by these, especially as the Jones shorts became more or less the formula for Looney Tunes for many, many years. In fact, what's really interesting is how we get characters that were created after Avery and Clampett left the studio, in shorts that are more reminiscent of what was made in the early 1940s. As such, the characters that were around in the early 1940s, such as Bugs, Daffy and Porky, will resemble the look of that period, while characters created later look different to what we are used to, especially the Coyote. Now, I'm fine with this, as it gives a nice consistency to the series. Now, the voice acting in these shorts is absolutely solid. Keep in mind that in doing shorts inspired by the early 1940s efforts, the voices of the characters that were around at that point in time sound a little different than what you may be used to. Bugs' voice is especially the case where he sounds just like the character did when Mel Blanc was still nailing down the voice of the character.
Hey, what kind of place is this anyway? Amusement park.
It's great work by Eric Bowser. I hope I said his surname correctly, by the way. In fact, all the actors here do such a great job and I have absolutely no complaints on that front. Same with the music scores, which can actually be a little bit jarring when you're so used to listening the lower range and frequency of the music in the older shorts. And so in conclusion, if you watch these as its own thing, I don't believe you'll be disappointed, and I for one can't wait to see the next batch once they come live. If I had to give this particular season a grade, it would be a solid 8 out of 10 for me. My least favourite shorts would be about a 6 out of 10, and my favourites would be about a 9 or a 10 out of 10. So 8 out of 10 is fair, I think. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time.
That's it!